most of me is barely breathing. When I'm not somebody I believe in, hold on to me. When I miss the light the night is stolen, when I'm slamming all the doors you've opened, hold on to me. Hold on to me. Hold on to me when it's too dark to see you. When I am sure I've reached the end. Hold on to me when I forget I need you. When I let go, hold me again. When I don't feel like I'm worth defending. When I'm tired of all my pretending. Hold on to me. Underneath the weight of expectation, hold on to me. Hold on to me. Hold on to me when it's too dark to see you. When I am sure I've reached the end. Hold on to me when I forget I need you. When I let go, hold me again. I could rest here in your arms forever, 'cause I know nobody loves me better. Hold on to me. Hold on to me.
Take your Bibles if you wouldn't find the book of 1 Samuel. Actually, let's find the book of Genesis first. We'll get to 1 Samuel in just a few minutes. Happy Mother's Day, Moms. Hope every day is a good day. This day especially a good day. We know that your job is so easy. Anybody could do it. I'm just kidding. Nobody could do it. Even if they did, most of the time we wouldn't want to because of difficult. But we are so thankful for you. I want to say that Mother's Day is as great for some, it's difficult for others, and every year I kind of want to point out that we do understand that sometimes this holiday is difficult, and so I want to say first to those who gave birth in the last year, to their first child, we are celebrating with you and are so glad God answered that prayer. To those who may have lost a child in the last year, we want you to know we mourn with you and understand difficulty on this day. To those who are in the middle of raising their children in the trenches, who have they wear those badges of food stains on their shoulders, we want you to know that we appreciate you. To those who have experienced loss through miscarriage, failed adoptions, we mourn with you as well on this difficult road. To those who walk the hard path of infertility or fraught with pokes, prods, tears, and disappointment, we walk with you. Forgive us if we say things that are foolish or insensitive. We don't mean to. To those who are foster moms or mentor moms or spiritual moms, we need you. And I'm reminded of the loss of Miss Ulbrich when I think of spiritual moms, because she was one to me. To those who have warm and close relationships with your children and your mom, we celebrate that with you. But to those who are estranged from their mom or their daughter, we pray for you that that relationship will heal and they'll be a closest again. To those who lost their moms in the last year, we grieve with you and understand this is a difficult day as well. To those who are living through the driving test and the medical test and the overall testing of motherhood as they go through raising their children, We are so much better for having you all with us and in our midst today. To those who step parent, we walk that difficult and complex path with you and pray for you and success as you try to parent children that you chose rather than you were born with. To those who envision grandchildren but have not had that dream fulfilled yet, we grieve with you and pray that God answers that prayer soon. To those who have emptier nests in the next year or in the last year, we grieve and we rejoice with you, which is where my wife and I sit today. To those who are pregnant, expecting new life, both expected or unexpected, we anticipate that life and birth with you and look forward to it. And so, moms, happy Mother's Day. We come to this day, and the truth of the matter is that we all don't appreciate our mothers at all, especially as much as they should be appreciated. But I will say this, when we begin to think about what makes a great mom, there are a lot of answers to that question. And I want to explore a few of those this morning as we have time. I don't believe there is a more important or a more thankless job in all of the world than that of being a mom. And they shape the future of society. They help equip the next generation of leaders, not just of the world around us, but also the next generation of leaders within the church. I'm not a mom, and I know that doesn't surprise anybody, although in 2023, I guess I have to point that out, because that's how ridiculous we are. But I'm not a mom, but I can say this. Since just more than 22 years ago, when my wife became a mom, I have watched one of the great moms of all time raise children. And I've seen some of the things that make her not just a mom, but a great mom. And so I can't speak from personal experience, but I have been able to watch what I think is a fantastic mom. And so I just want to share a few of those things with you. Encourage moms. If you're in here today, you're a great mom. I know we have a church full of them, and I'm thankful for that. Thank you for what you do, the hard work you put in, the things that you do that aren't seen, the things that you do that aren't appreciated. One day they will be, or one day they won't be, but you still have influenced their lives. And so I want to encourage you this morning, and maybe kids, if you're listening, husbands, if you're listening, let's realize the treasure we have with our wives and the mothers of our children, and kids, maybe be a little bit more thankful in the next year for the mother that God has given you. I said Genesis, but I lied. Let's go to 1 Samuel first. Let's just start in 1 Samuel. It would make sense to start in Genesis, but I'm not going to do that because that's where we're going to go this morning. 1 Samuel, chapter number 1. You all know the story of this lady, but I wanted to use it as a springboard this morning as we get into the message. I don't exaggerate. I do have 5 things I think that make a great mom, and as we have time, we'll cover as many of those as we can. First of all, one of the things I think that makes a great mom is seen here in 1 Samuel chapter number 1. Look at verse number 9, and we'll just read down to verse number 11. You'll know the story. This is the first book of Samuel. The narrative of the book of Samuel is about the man Samuel, and it starts even before he is born. 1 Samuel chapter 1 and verse 9. So Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh, and after they had drunk. Now Eli the priest sat upon a seat by a post of the temple of the Lord. And she, that is Hannah, was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto the Lord, and wept sore. And she vowed a vow, and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look upon the affliction of thine handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thine handmaid, but wilt give unto thine handmaid a man-child. That's a hilarious phrase to me, a man-child. I've seen some adults that I would call a man-child. It's because of the way they behave. But anyway, that's another message for another day, maybe Father's Day. Then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. And verse 12 says, it came to pass as she continued praying before the Lord that Eli marked her mouth. He goes on and has a conversation with Eli. Eli thought she was drunk. Can I say that I think one of the things that makes a mom, not just a mom, but a great mom, is their prayer, their calling out to God on behalf of their children. I think one of the things that makes a mom a great mom is the fact that they spend time praying for their kids. Listen, this is easy for all of us to do, to pray, but moms especially. One of the things that will separate you from just being a mom to a great mom is that you pray for your children. And we see Hannah here. She begins to pray for Samuel before he's even around. She prays so much that Lord gives her a child. And we know that as we follow the narrative of the book of Samuel, that Hannah said, Lord, give me a child. He'll have no razor on his head. He'll be a Nazarite from his birth. And as he goes through life, I'll give him to you and trust you to raise him. That's all right. Let him cry. It's fine. He's quiet last week. He can cry this week. That's the way I say it. Or I've made him mad. I don't know which I've done. But a good mom, a great mom, calls out to God on behalf of her children. Look, the truth is a great mom prays for her children before they are even born. And look, if you're to the place where you're in that part of your life where you're raising children, or you're about to raise children, you're praying for children, can I encourage you to begin praying for them now before that you even know that you're going to have them? Begin to pray. This is what Hannah did here. She desires that God gives her a child, and then continues to pray for him as he goes through life. And so a great mom prays for her kids, calls out to God for her kids even before they're born. We can begin to pray. Moms, you can pray for your kids before they're born for health, that God will let them be born healthy and give them a healthy life. We ought to be praying before they're born that they are saved. We ought to pray for their salvation before they're ever born. And even though it seemed like it's so far off before they're born, we ought to be praying for their spouse. Because believe it or not, it'll seem like you just blink and they're into that part of life. And so a good mom, a great mom, calls out to God for their kids. She prays for them before they're born. I think also we can say that she prays for wisdom while she's raising them. And all of us, as we became parents the first time, we're all brand new at this thing. All of us. As our kids have gotten older, the older four look at the way we're raising the younger two and think that things are different. And the truth is, in some cases, they might be a little different, but that's because we know more than we did when we had the older four. We didn't have any idea what we were doing when we had Hannah and then Josh. We did a little bit more with John, Caleb, but less a little bit. But we feel like we have a handle on this thing, at least to some extent, now with Luke and Lydia. And so we don't know what we're doing when we first start. And a great mom doesn't just cry out to God before her children are born, but she prays that God gives her the wisdom to make the decisions that are going to affect their lives as she's raising them. She cries out to God for her children before they're born while she's raising them. And then I think most obviously, if we're going to follow that progression, a great mom prays for her kids even when they're grown. Even when they're grown. Our jobs raising them may be done, but the heart that a great mom has for her kids will keep her on her knees praying for those children, that God protect them as adults. And that protection can extend in a bunch of different ways, but we ought to pray that God protects our adult kids from sin that the world would try to get them into to ruin their lives. We ought to pray that God protects our adult children from other harm that may come in and cause them issues as they live their lives, not just for protection, but also a great mom prays for the success of her children. And I don't mean just the success that we can find in the world where there's a good salary and a large bank account and a good-sized house. I'm talking about success as a Christian adult. That they find success not just in their vocation, but also in their life, that they make a difference, that they work to fulfill the principle and the purpose for which they were created, that God has for them, that they would be successful and that they would be godly. I think a great mom, one of the things that separates a great mom from an okay mom is a great mom prays for her children, and she prays for them regularly before they're born, as she's raising them after they're grown, that God would work in each stage of their life. Not only does a great mom call out to God for her kids, but I think the second thing we see a great mom does is that she cares for her kids, and her care is more than just a little bit of concern. Genesis chapter 21 and verse number 15, just mark this down. We're not going to turn there because of time this morning. We get into the story of Abraham, and actually at this point, he's just become Abraham recently, and Abraham's got a problem. We know that God called him in Genesis chapter 9. God called him out of the land of Ur, said, "Get out of the land of Ur unto a land that I'll show you. I'll make you there a great nation. I'll bless him that bless you, curse him that curseth you." And so Abraham takes off on this trip, and it's more than a 1,500-mile trip from where he started to the promised land that he's going to go to. And along that journey, things don't always go according to plan. Abraham has a promise that God is going to give him a child of promise, a child that's going to grow up and become the father of a great nation. And as time passes in Abram and Sarai's life, that promise isn't fulfilled. And so as the days get longer, and as Sarah and Abram get a little bit older, they begin to doubt in the back of their mind that God is going to be able to do that which he promised he would do. And so they decided to take matters into their own hands. And there's a handmaiden, and Abraham and Hagar have a child named Ishmael. After Ishmael time goes on, and Sarah can't stand to have Ishmael in the same house as her son, the child of promise, Isaac. And so she tells Abraham, you got to kick her and her son out. I don't want them in our tent. I don't want them with us. I don't want that child around my child. So Abraham does it. And in Genesis chapter 21, we pick up the story that Abraham gives Hagar and Ishmael a few supplies, and they leave. They're in the middle of nowhere. If you look at an Old Testament map, it's not like they're near a city where they can just travel down the road and find a hotel or a restaurant. They're in a desert. And as Hagar and Ishmael, they travel a little bit of ways, the water that Abraham gave Hagar runs out. Now all of a sudden, this mom sees her son and knows that she will not survive. Genesis chapter 21 says she put her son under a tree, and she went a little ways off so that she could not hear her son crying because she did not want to watch her son die. Genesis 21 says that she cried out. And what I love that the Bible says that God heard the cry of the child and then went to the mom to ask what she needed. And Hagar's care and love for Ishmael was so intense that she had done all that she could do, and that she couldn't bear to watch his suffering anymore. And I think what makes a mom, not just a mom, but a great mom, is that her care for her kids, it seems supernatural at times. It seems like it's more than, good night, that says supernatural, doesn't it? Just looked at my notes. That's what happens when you copy and paste, and it's a real word. Sometimes I guess that works. I guess mealtime, it is supernatural. If you love your child, mom, your supper will be natural, and it'll be healthy. No additives or preservatives, I guess. Good night. Let's hurry along so I can get that off the screen. I think she loves her kids. I saw some of y'all with stupid grins on your faces. Nobody's pointing behind there to say something, just smiling and laughing. Yeah, preacher doesn't know the difference. Yes, I do. Just didn't recognize it. A great mom loves her kids more than she loves herself. I've seen this in watching my wife with our kids. Great mom's always thinking of the kids first. You look at Hagar here, who is no doubt dehydrated, hungry, needs shade for her own self. Yet, instinctively, she puts that child in the shade. She goes where she's probably in the direct sun, out of the way. She just can't bear the suffering. And a great mom has an unbelievable care. I refuse to say it again. An unbelievable care for her child. Putting her kids' wants oftentimes ahead of a mom's own needs. It's amazing. A great mom loves her kids more than herself. Everything she does is to the benefit of her children. She'll do without to make sure her children do not. She'll make tough decisions that are difficult, but it is in order to make sure they're better off and they're well-suited and benefited because of it. Everything she does is for the benefit of her kids. Look, she does more than is required. The truth is, a mother may meet the physical needs of a child, but a great mom, does way more than that. I mean, the law requires that a mother make sure that the kids have food and water and a place to sleep, but that's not what a mom does. A mom goes far beyond the needs of her children. A mother may meet physical needs, but a mom will meet the emotional and spiritual needs as well. Great moms don't punch a clock. They're on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're on when they are consoling their child while there's a stomach bug and there's vomit all over the place, sometimes even on mom. When they're tired and sick themselves, they'll make sure their kids are comforted while they're ill. A great mom has a care for her children that is really beyond natural care. Let me say number 3. Not only does a mom care for her kids and she cries out to God for her kids, but also mom will cry for their kids when they're hurt. Mom will cry. You ever watch a mom when their children are hurting? Their children are crying. A lot of times there'll be tears in the mom's eyes as well. This is in stark contrast to fathers with their boys. Just is.
Look, you let one of my boys cry unless it's something severe, and I'm going to tell them to dry it up. Suck it up, fellas. It'll be all right. Walk it off. Whatever the phrase that needs to be used. That's what Dad's reaction. We want to make sure our kids are tough, but you watch a mom with her kids are hurt. Oh, it's okay. Well, we need to get a Band-Aid. It's not even bleeding, but we need to get a Band-Aid. All of these things. And a mom doesn't just call out to God. A mom doesn't just care, but a great mom also cries with her children in pain and difficulty. Both in those scars that you can see on their bodies when they get hurt. I witnessed this just not this long ago with one of our kids. But for the emotional toll that sometimes life just takes on our children. Great mom will cry with her kids. Mom has sympathy. She feels the pain that her kids suffer. She identifies with them in difficulty. A great mom can sense the hurt in her child even when the child doesn't say it. Amazed watching sometimes when the wife can sense that something's off with one of the children. I don't always sense it. She'll ask, "You okay? Is everything all right? What's going on? What's wrong?" Sometimes I'll hear the response initially be nothing. And then she'll ask again because she knows that's not the case. And then maybe a tear will start flowing in the kid's eye, and then there's the truth. It's because a mom sympathizes. Great moms, they hurt when their kids hurt. They cry when their kids are crying. So a great mom cries with her kids. A great mom cares for her kids. A great mom calls out to God on behalf of her children. Can I say number 4? A great mom corrects their kids when they're wrong. No, the kids are not going to amen this one because this is not fun. But a great mom doesn't just love her kids the easy way, which is to make them happy and do all the things that they want. But a great mom will correct those children when they're wrong. We read the book of Proverbs is replete with verses on how to raise a child, and it's very clear that discipline is necessary when we're raising children. Let's just give you a few verses. How about Proverbs says this: "Foolishness is bound in the heart of the child." You know what it says next? "But the rod of correction will drive it far from him." Chastise your son betimes. In other words, over and over. Betimes is a word we use every time it's necessary. We get into the New Testament, the book of Hebrews, and read what an example of a godly father is, and it says, "For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth." Those words are they're in English, they don't have a lot of color with them, but if we go into original, those words, that word chastise, that would mean to whip. But that word scourge, it's more significant than that. That word scourge literally means to skin. In other words, if they don't listen to the chastisement, then more significant punishment's coming. And a great mom understands that if I love my kids the right way, I'm going to do the difficult things, and sometimes that requires discipline, that requires correction. It's easy to love kids. I've heard parents, especially younger parents, tend to say this because I think it may change as you get older. "I love my child too much to spank them." No, the truth is you love yourself too much. You love yourself because no parent enjoys that process. No parent. If you've parented at any length of time at all, there's a good chance you have punished your child while fighting back tears your own self. That's the way it is because it's painful for us. That's why as we get older, we realize what our mom and dad meant when they said this will hurt me worse than it'll hurt you. We thought they were liars. We now find out it is true. Most of the time. And a great mom corrects the children when they are wrong. A great mom loves her kids too much to ignore wrongs, understanding that this will translate into poor character later on. A great mom deals with the shortcomings in their children's lives, even if it's hard to do. She loves them when they're wrong, but works to correct those errors to make them right. A great mom realizes her responsibility to correct her kids. She knows that the success of her children depend on good character that is instilled at a young age. Parents will either correct their children at home or the civil government, criminal government will do it when they are old. That's the choices. And so we see a great mom corrects their children when they're young. A great mom, listen, always corrects in love. This is what separates a great mom from a bad mom. A great mom's correction always comes out of love, not out of anger, not out of a desire for revenge or retribution or anything else. It doesn't come while she's mad. A great mom corrects and disciplines only out of love for that child. If you're raising your kids, you understand there are times when you need to take a few minutes. Sometimes when we have to correct our kids, we are shocked that we're having to correct them for things that we're having to correct them for, like, I can't even think of an example right now, but you ever like on your way in to correct your child, you're going, I cannot believe we're having to have this conversation with another human being. I cannot believe I'm having to tell them this. I never expressly said don't burn the backyard down, but I just thought it was implied, but it's not. Now I have to deal with this. Or whatever it is. It's a bad mom that in the heat of the moment and in the moment of emotion disciplines that child out of anger. A great mom says, hang on a minute, go wait for me. Let me get this right. We got to correct this, but I've got to get myself fixed first. The difference between correcting your child out of love and correcting them out of anger is the difference between discipline and abuse. The difference between discipline and abuse is your attitude in which you do it. And so a great mom corrects her kids. Let me give you a fifth one as we hurry along here. A great mom comforts her kids in hard times. A great mom comforts her kids in hard times. A great mom is a soft place to land, and I stole that phrase from a great mom herself, my wife. She's a place that her kids go for comfort when the world has beat them down. When they feel like they're mocked or made fun of. When emotionally they're whipped and need help. They're able, that mom is that place to go. They run to her arms when they're hurt. Hey, let's just be honest, dads. None of your children cry out for you when they are hurt. They do not, because they know there's no comfort here. If that thing ain't broken, if there's no bone sticking through the skin, our philosophy is it's okay. It'll be fine. Put some tape on it, let's go. But you let a kid, when they're hurt, the first thing they cry out for is mom. It doesn't matter if other people are around. It doesn't matter if you're holding them, dad. When those kids get hurt, they cry out to a great mom because they know that's where they find comfort when they're hurt. It goes far beyond just the scrapes and the cuts and the nicks and the bruises. We live in a cruel world and life is going to beat our kids down. And a great mom is there with her arms open. When they don't understand what's going on, they feel like they don't fit in, they have questions because of what kids are saying, there's a great mom saying, come here, let's talk. I love you. It'll be okay. So a great mom is a place to come for comfort. She's a soft place to land when life is difficult. Great mom encourages her kids. Listen, a great mom encourages her kids, but can I just put a parenthesis in here? Not in unrealistic ways. Look, if your child can't sing, they can sing. Do the rest of us a favor, okay? Encourage them, but not there. That's not their thing. You can't sing, maybe you can talk. Maybe you can do something else. Look, a great mom encourages the kids, but don't do it in a way that makes them think they can do something they can't do when they clearly have demonstrated they're tone deaf. They can't hear anything. They're singing the same note, and they think they're singing along with the melody of the song. They don't need to be singers. They just don't. Some kids can't draw. I was one of those kids. And my mom never said, hey, you're the next Picasso. She knew. She's like, what is that? Oh, that's a stick figure of a dog. That's a person. Let's move along. No art for you today. And the truth is, look, a good mom encourages her children, but not in an unrealistic way. You know what you do, moms, when you encourage your children in a way that's unrealistic? You set them up to be completely disappointed when the rest of the world is honest with them. And that's not doing them any favors. And a great mom encourages her kids, but here's what's beautiful about a good mom. A great mom knows the strengths and weaknesses of her children. She's watched them since they were little. She's seen them. She understands. And a great mom will encourage her kids towards those things that are their strong suits. She encourages them to try hard things. She encourages her kids to succeed even when they don't believe that they can because she knows them. The great mom will instill confidence in their children as they become adults. A great mom gives her kids a belief that God can use them to accomplish great things even if everyone else says they can't. That's what a mom does. A great mom shows her that they have value in God's eyes even if they feel like everyone else is telling them that they do not. A great mom is comforting her kids when they're down and hurt because God has a plan for them and they can achieve and succeed and fulfill God's will if they will trust Him for that. It's a great mom, and I got examples of historically of moms that were great moms that influenced great people. Don't have time for that this morning, but if you look at some of the greatest leaders the world has ever known, many of them will look back at their mother and say it was because of her that I was able to be successful. Look at some of the great pastors and missionaries and evangelists in church history, and you get into their biographies and you begin to read about them and what made them the men that they are, and many of them will say it was a mama that raised me the right way. Some of them will say they had walked away and they knew their mother was praying for them even while they were in sin and away from God, even when they were prodigal. So moms, happy Mother's Day. I love y'all. I appreciate you. I understand it's a thankless and tireless job. But if you do your job, you do it well, and many of you are and have, the blessing that we reap from that will continue for generations. And I know the days are long. It seems like you get no sleep sometimes, and nobody cares or notices. But the Lord notices it. I read the book of Matthew, and Jesus is hanging on the cross in Matthew chapter 27. He is paying for the sins of the whole world. He has stretched his arms out, hanging on the cross. And do you know one of the things that he does while hanging on the cross? Is he sees his mother there, and in his darkest hour, because of what she means to the Son of God, he makes sure that she is taken care of after he's passed away. And moms, it may seem like we don't appreciate you as your spouses, and sometimes we do. We fail so often to appreciate the things that you do. But I promise you, there's a God in heaven that sees your effort, your love, your care, your endless hours of work, and he's taking note. Hang in there. Do the thing that you're called to do. Be that mom. Be a great mom. Call out to God for your children. Care for them in a supernatural way. Cry with them when they're crying. Comfort them when they need comfort. And you'll change the world in one generation. Would you bow your heads as the piano player is coming? As we close this morning, there's a couple things. No one looking around. Husbands, listen, we fail to recognize the effort our wives put in as moms. It goes unappreciated, not just by the kids oftentimes, but by us as well. I think this would be a great time of the year to resolve that with God's help. We're going to point out those moments when we see our wives doing something amazing with our kids as parents, as a mom. And to thank them for the effort they put in on a daily basis. And not overlook it and take it for granted. And then kids, if you're in here this morning and you got a great mom, why don't you tell her? Not just on Mother's Day, but listen, how about wake up tomorrow morning? Mom, I love you. Thank you for everything you do for me. Thank you for the clothes you've gotten ready for me, the way you've washed them. Thank you for the food you cook. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. We notice it. Be amazed at how much good that will do to your moms to hear it. And then adults that have good and godly moms, let's be thankful for them. Let's be thankful for them. Moms, keep it up. Keep up the work. We appreciate you. We love you. If you need to come, maybe husbands, maybe kids want to come to the altar this morning and thank God for their moms. Ask God to bless them this coming year. Give them wisdom and help as they try to raise you and your kids. Lord, we love you now. I pray that you seal the message hearts. Thank you for the moms that are in here, the grandmothers that are in here, the ones that are adoptive and are blood moms. And Lord, thank you for the spiritual moms that we have. Thank you for the stepmoms that have stepped into a gap and are doing the difficult job. Would you encourage them not just today, but in the days ahead that they need to keep it up? We do see, even though we don't say it, we notice. God, if there's a mom in here today that's struggling in the middle of the fight that is motherhood, would you give them the strength they need today? Give them the ability to carry on, encourage them, even though they may feel unappreciated. We're thankful for it. In Jesus' name we pray. Would you stand as we sing? If you need to come this morning, you come.